All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number 4. That is right, week number 4 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. JSK Austin, and what we are going to be doing this week is, first of all, we are going to have our state of the course update, and then I am going to tell you about 2 databases, Academic Search Premier / Academic Search Complete, and also JSTOR, which are what I call the Googles of the databases because they cover a wide variety of things. They're not on specific topics. You can just get a whole bunch of information about anything. And these are the 2 databases that you're generally going to want to start out with when you are actually trying to help most, especially undergraduate students, trying to help them find information and that sort of thing. But also these databases are good places to start with pretty much any query, unless you know of a database that will get you to the results quicker. So this is Academic Search Complete and JSTOR are things that you can kind of go on for. Also, like when you're in the public library, they're good things to look at, and they're even good things to look at when you're not just dealing with undergrads. But if you're in the academic library and you've got graduate students, but they are just starting to put together their literature reviews, these 2 databases can still be a good place to start. And there are going to be very few times where these databases are completely useless because, again, they are the Googles of the databases and they cover a wide variety of subject matter. So I am going to demo those. This won't be a tutorial. Let me remind you all. I do think I said this at the sync session, but I'm going to remind you all that this is not a tutorial, okay? This is something that if you want to look at tutorials and then actually master the database by looking at the tutorials and practicing on your own, by all means do that. But what I'm here to do is to simply introduce you to the database and let you know when you would use it and show you some of the basic functions. But if you want to know a database inside and out, that's going to take longer than what the check-in video would allow me to do. And so that's why I'm not actually doing a quote-unquote tutorial, because then the check-in video would just be too long and we don't want to go through all that. So having said that, let's go ahead and get into that state of the course update. Pause. Okay, so the first and most important thing that you need to be aware of is this. Yes, your virtual reference practice paper is due on this coming Sunday. It is due on this coming Sunday, February 16th at midnight. So if you have not gotten started, please get started. You do not want this to sneak up on you. And this is for those of you who are in groups of 2. There is one group that is a group of 3 and things are a little more complicated for them. So I've given them a different due date. Please don't be jealous that the group of 3 has a different due date, because the group of 3 also has 2 people they have to deal with instead of 1 as far as partners are concerned. So they have to do a little more extra work. So because of that, yes, they are going to get a break and they are going to get an extra week to complete the task, and that's only fair. But for the rest of you who only have 1 partner, yes, I do want your papers this Sunday, unless you make an arrangement with me and you've got some reason as to why you will not be able to turn it in this Sunday. I will say, though, that I am very happy, I am very pleased that you all, by this point, by a few days before the due date, usually, and most of the time when I teach this class, usually there are people who are coming to me complaining, hey, my partner is unresponsive. Hey, I don't think my partner's checking email. Hey, this, hey, that. They are caught up in some sort of situation where their partner is not allowing them to finish the assignment. That is what usually happens. However, that is not what's happening with y'all. I have not heard a single complaint about a partner being non-responsive, and for that, I thank you. I have very high hopes for this class this semester, and I hope you all do not disappoint me. So for one thing, make sure you have that APA straight. If you did not watch last week's check-in video about the common APA mistakes, but you have not, but you're not certain that you've mastered APA, please check out that video, because again, I will be counting off on the virtual reference assignment and the Wikipedia edit assignment. I will be checking off for improper APA. All right, what else do we have? Another thing that I want to bring to your attention, again, I want to remind you all that if you have not looked at the unassignments from your classmates, it might be a good time for you to do so. The unassignments have been turned in, and quite frankly, they all are pretty good. I did put a note in about a lot of you did end up actually leaving off the of note part, and if you did, please add that in. But the these unassignments are very good, and they're going to get you a very good introduction to a lot of different databases, including JSTOR is going to be one of the ones that we're talking about today. So yes, by all means, please check those out. Make time to check those out if you haven't done it yet. You don't necessarily need to do it now. There's no rush, but try to plan some time within the semester to where you can actually look at that, because again, that knowledge is good. That is good knowledge for you to have. It's good knowledge for you to go into your first professional librarianship job with. All right. All right. And the next thing that I want to note is that you all, I know that the second discussion board prompt, the discussion board prompt that spread out between weeks 2 and 3, which was, again, discussion board prompt number 2, seeking and finding information. I see that you all have turned those in. I've already started grading those and responding to the submissions that you all have turned in, and I'm still working on that. Bear with me. There is a lot to go through with that. And for those of you who don't know, I'm not somebody who just slaps a grade down if you actually just wrote something. I actually do read your discussion board posts, and I try to respond to most of them. So part of the reason I'm still working through it is because I'm not just reading them. I am responding at least to initial posts. I don't always respond. In fact, I rarely respond to the replies, but I do respond to initial posts probably about 75% of the time. Okay, so I am reading them, and the reason why there is a delay in getting those grades in, not really a delay because it's only been 2 days, but the reason why I'm still going through those and won't have the grades up tonight either, just so you know. The reason why I am still going through those is just because I do actually read them and see what you all say. I do not make you all do work and then not read the work that you all do, because I think that's kind of a lousy thing for professors to do, and our professors in CISL for the most part don't do that. Your discussion board prompt this week is going to be simpler, and you don't have any more discussion board prompts that span over the course of 2 weeks, so don't worry about that. Week 3, we're talking, or discussion board prompt 3, I should say. This is actually week 4, but discussion board prompt 3 does talk about empathy and professionalism in reference. So that is very important. We do have to have empathy with those we serve. If we do not, then we are not going to give them the best service that we can give them. And we as librarians, we care about serving our communities. That is largely the big point of what we do. All right, moving on. I think the last thing that I'm going to bring up for the state of the course update right now is this, and that is we are going to have our second sync session a week from Wednesday. So Wednesday of this week is February 12th, and a week from then will be February 19th. And on February the 19th, we will be visited by Mary Ann Curtis, and she's going to talk a little bit about reference services at the K-12 level, including how her interactions, a bit of her interactions with parents and with teachers, because that is something that is also going to play into your reference work if you get a job in a K-12 library. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the state of the course update. Let's go ahead and look at those databases. Give me one moment. All right, so again, the databases that we are discussing today are going to be Academic Search Premier and also JSTOR. Now, Academic Search Premier and Academic Search Complete are pretty much the same thing, and you will hear librarians use these names interchangeably. So I don't want you all to get into this mindset where you're thinking, oh, if somebody says Academic Search Premier, then we can't use Academic Search Complete, or vice versa. No. Librarians often use these terms interchangeably, and I'm going to say that the differences are actually fairly minuscule. Academic Search Complete is basically the full version of this database, the more expensive tier version, and then Academic Search Premier has most, but not all, of the information of Academic Search Complete. But I would say that most institutions actually can get by with Academic Search Premier. You don't necessarily need Academic Search Complete in order to be successful. So with that said, what I'm going to do first is show you all Academic Search Premier / Academic Search Complete. And then after that, I'm going to show you all JSTOR, and I'm going to tell you all when you can use these databases. But spoiler alert, these databases are the two databases that you can use pretty much for a whole lot of reference requests, especially at the collegiate level, but at the public library level as well. There are going to be things that they don't come in handy for. Certainly, one thing that I'm going to be showing you all later in the semester is going to be the Auto Reference Repair Center database, which is a database that gets you information on issues with cars and how to fix them and things like that. Academic Search Complete and JSTOR are not going to be very useful for that at all, but they're going to be useful for a whole lot of other things. All right, let's make me small and let's get into it. So first of all, I am at the Missouri, that was the wrong place for me to go. I am at the University of Missouri's University Library homepage. Going into the databases, here is what we have. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, and you see that Mizzou, even Mizzou as a Research One institution, as a flagship institution within this state, and also as an AAU institution, we still have Academic Search Premier. We don't have Academic Search Complete. So like I said, Academic Search Premier typically will get you through. So don't feel bad if your library has Academic Search Premier instead of Academic Search Complete. Both of them are pretty dang good. Okay, let's go ahead and click out of this. So when you enter Academic Search Premier or Academic Search Complete, and this is how most EBSCO databases look. EBSCO is a database vendor. They are probably, I believe, the largest of the database vendors. And they, yeah, so when you go into an EBSCO database, a lot of times they look like this, or they might be varied. So even if you, because if you come up here, you can see choose databases. And if you were to decide you wanted to leave Academic Search Premier or Academic Search Complete and go to one of these other things like CINAHL or PsycInfo or something like that, those, or yeah, those are two good examples actually. Those databases tend to actually look pretty much the same, okay? So they're gonna have a similar look to this. Business Source Premier is another one, such and such, but we're gonna stay in Academic Search Premier. And let me do a sample search first, because I'm gonna basically show you all how the basics of how you search this database. And the basics of how you search this database are pretty much the basics of how you search a lot of databases, including JSTOR. So as you see, even though JSTOR is not an EBSCO database, you're going to see that when we go into JSTOR, we're going to search that database pretty much the exact same way. So let's go ahead and get into that now. Let's start out with just something that we know is going to get us a lot of results. And I am just going to put in, since he's the president, I'm going to put in Donald Trump. I hope I don't upset anybody by putting his name in, but this is a perfect illustration of what I want to do and how I want to show you how a search gets started. So let's say you just, you're working with just you're working with somebody and they just throw in Donald Trump and then they hit search. You're going to get tons of results, and I do mean tons of results. So here, once you've done that, we've got 90,000, almost 91,000 results. What do you think? Of course, that is way too many for us to work with, so we've got to start narrowing this down. So how do we narrow this down? Well, first of all, this is not even something that is, this search does not even search specifically for Donald Trump. This is searching for Donald and for Trump. So if both of those words appear anywhere in the record or anywhere in the article, if the article is HTML, then it's going to show up here. So one thing that we can do in order to reduce our number of returns is put quotation marks around it. Now that didn't help us very much. We only went down from 91,000 things to 83,000 things. So we still got way, way, way too many things, right? So clearly this is not going to work. This is not going to get us where we want to go. So, but everything that's here, when you see select a field optional, that means that we are basically in a keyword search. So that means that if Donald Trump appears together anywhere in the record or anywhere in the article, if the full text is within the database, such as in one of these HTML instances, then it's going to bring that back to us. But let's say that your patron actually wants to know specifically about Donald Trump. Let's say that your patron wants specifically things that are about Donald Trump and don't just mention Donald Trump. Well, what you can do is you can come down here to select a field, and there are two options. You can either go, because this is a person, so you can either go with people or you can go with subject terms. Either one should work in order to get us where we're trying to go next. But let me show you what's going to happen. This is going to greatly reduce our results. I'm going to go with people. Okay, well, that was the wrong thing to do. Searching is not linear. That's one thing I want you all to know. So now that I see that nothing's showing up for people, I'm going to go to subject terms. So with subject terms, instead of having 83,000 things, now we're down to 279. This, however, makes the search probably too narrow. But let me show you a trick. So we have subject terms here, And so what we're seeing here is that there's actually what's called controlled vocabulary on Donald Trump. Controlled vocabulary means that there is a specific way that you enter this search terminology into the database in order to get the desired results. And writing it in as Donald Trump, this is not the controlled vocabulary. So, but what you will see when you see these subject terms, you are going to see the controlled vocabulary. And so let's scroll down. So you see several instances where our controlled vocabulary gives us this. So this is what you're actually going to want to search for. How do you do that? I'm glad you asked. Even if you didn't ask, let's go ahead and click and find out. So what you can do is you can come in here and you have people. So you see it saying people here, even though people didn't return me anything. But you got people and you've got Donald Trump, and then you've got his birth year, and there is no death year. He is definitely still alive. But what you can do is if you click this, this will actually start a new search. So now when you see that PE, that is also what you had there for people. But now we have the proper controlled vocabulary. And because we have the proper controlled vocabulary, instead of no results, which you may remember we had no results that first time, now we have 59,000 results. So now we're doing better. And all 59,000 things here are things that deal specifically with Donald Trump. But let's say that this is too general. Let's say that we don't just want information about Donald Trump. Let's say we actually want information about Donald Trump and specifically about Donald Trump in immigration. Let's do that because there are going to be some returns for that. So what you can do, because we have 59,000 things here, but we know that they're not all useful, you can make this a subject term is what I recommend you do. And then I am actually going to do this. This is a truncation symbol. So what this will do is this will not only search for immigration, but it will search for immigrants and some other things. Anything that this would be the base word, the truncation symbol will take it from there. And so we don't have to do a bunch of searches, right? So then we don't have to do a search for Donald Trump and immigration, then a search for Donald Trump and immigrants. We can get all of those in one fell swoop. Let's go ahead and do that. Hit search. And this is going to take us down from that 59,000. It's going to take us down from 59,000 things to 3,500 things. And these 3,500 things are definitely things that are going to be useful for us if we are searching for immigration and Donald Trump, because these things all have immigration within the subject terms or immigrants within the subject terms or something like that, immigration services, and they also have Donald Trump within the subject terms. So now we've got a more manageable number here, but let's say we want to take it down even further. What we can do from here, what we've got in this left-hand sort of drop-down menu here are our refines for ways that we can kind of refine our search so that we can actually limit what we're dealing with, right? So let's say, first of all, let's say that you've got that typical college freshman that comes to you 8 hours before the assignment is due, and they're like, I really need some information on Donald Trump and on immigration, and I don't have much time. I got to write this paper really quick. Can you help me out? And they're going to say that, and they're not going to have time to actually search for full text if the full text is not immediately in the database. Now, I hope you remember the check-in video I did for week 2 when I told you about Google Scholar and Journal Finder and Interlibrary Loan. If you end up with I taught you all in that check-in video that if you're unable to find the full text in Google Scholar, then 2 resources that you can use are going to be the interlibrary loan feature that you can use through Mizzou. Your tuition dollars are already paid for it, so there's no reason for you not to use it. And then also you can feel free to use Journal Finder and see if you can come up with the full text yourself. And there are some other little tricks of the trade that you're going to learn along the way. I wish I could teach you all of them, but there's a reason why it takes generally 3 years to become a good librarian. You cannot become a good reference librarian overnight. All right, so let's say that this student comes in and they say, hey, I need stuff about Donald Trump and immigration, and I need it fast. So I can't search for full text. All the full text has to be there in the database. Well, what you can do is limit to full text. That's going to take us down from 3,500 things to 1,100 things. So we're getting better and better. Now we're on topic still, and the stuff that we are pulling back will all have the full text just clickable within the database. Now, let's say that they throw you another curveball and they say it has to be within the last 5 years. Well, you can also do a date limit, 2020 to 2025. Let's do it. Now we have gone down from 1,100 things to 256 things. There we go. And if you wanted to, you could also, a lot of times you're going to have students that come in and they're like, well, I have to have peer-reviewed articles. I have to have articles from an academic journal, things of that nature. You can click those. I'm not going to click those right now. But as you can see, like if they said they need an academic journal specifically, you could come down to source type and you would you see that there are 87 results there. So if I were to click that, that would take me from 256 things to 87 things. All right. So we've got all this going on, and from here, 256 things, where do we go from here? This is where we go from here. You click this title. So let's say they are interested in this, but they're not sure if they want to use it. Well, what you do, once you click the title, you will be sent to a catalog record. When you are looking at the catalog record, there are some things that you're going to want to take a look at. To be honest with you, it shouldn't be this way, but one of the things that you're going to want to look at is the number of pages, 6 pages. Some students are just going to be turned off by, if they're not specifically having to use academic journals, they're going to be turned off by academic journal results a lot of times if those academic journal returns bring back like 10-page, 12-page, 15-page articles, or even more than that. Some academic journal articles, as some of you probably already know, can get into hundreds of pages, just depending. And a lot of time, it's not uncommon for them to be 50 or more pages, okay? So you might have somebody who wants a manageable amount of pages, and 6 pages is what you got here. Abstract. Abstract is another thing that you're going to want to look at before you actually go into reading the full text. What you want to do is look at the abstract. The abstract is a 1 to 3 paragraph summary of the article content. So if you read this and you can read that abstract, the article offers outlook on the direction of the Democratic Party following the victory of U.S. President-elect Donald J. Trump. It goes into further stuff. And if you see that that abstract is something that is relevant and useful to you, then you can scroll on down, and there's your full text. But if it's PDF full text as opposed to HTML full text, then the PDF full text is not going to be down there like the HTML full text is. You're actually going to have to click that. So I can click the HTML full text, and that's going to load here. There are going to be some things that are only in PDF, some things that are only in HTML, and then some things that are in neither, and some things that are both. So you just got to kind of get used to that, okay? So you got your information there, and then once you get that information, now you can come and do some other things. So first of all right, yeah, get me back to the record. Come on. All right, I did too much there. There was actually something I could have done easier, but I wanted to get back here to show you all these tools. There are certain tools that you can use. First of all, I just like to tell people that as you get these articles, if you find an article that you want to say that you definitely want to use, it's a good idea actually to possibly do several things. You can email the article record to yourself, and that way you can pull it up later. You can also save it, so you can create a folder on your computer, on your hard drive, and save it, or you can use one of these cloud things like Google Drive or OneDrive or something like that. Also, permalinks. If you're trying to share the articles with other people, especially with classmates or other people within your institution, then a lot of times you're going to want to send them that permalink, and so you can click permalink and it will generate a permalink. And the permalink can be what you use in order to just have a link that you can push and get there. Finally, what I want you all to also, you can print. That's not too big of a thing there. So you can print that the article if you need to, that sort of thing. A lot of times you're going to have, especially in the public library, people just printing things out if they just need one article and they need to print it out. They might not necessarily have cloud storage or a USB drive or anything like that. They might just go ahead and ask you to print it out for them, or they might pay to print it, or whatever goes on at your particular public library. Finally, I do want to show you all this citation, this cite feature, right? Because I want to share a little bit of information for you, and that information is that the cite feature is not that reliable, and I really need to drive that home. The cite feature is not that reliable. What I mean by that is this. Scroll down, look at this. Cite. Yes, this is right, but these no, it's actually not right. So good. I'm glad I found one where it's not right. So the thing is, these are computer generated citations. They're like I don't even know if they're AI generated. They're just like computer generated, and so they are only right about 80% of the time. 80% of the time might sound good, but listen, 80% of the time means that if you have 10 sources that you got out of Academic Search Complete on your paper, there's a good chance that two of them, because it's only right 80% of the time, it's a good chance that at least two of them are improperly formatted. And what we do have here is an improper formatting. So if you watched my video about the 2 common APA mistakes, you would know that you only capitalize the first word of an article title, the first word of an article subtitle, and then any proper noun. So do should not be capitalized here. We should not be. Go should not be. From should not be. Here should not be. This computer was not smart enough to pick up that this is not how you properly cite APA. So you cannot rely on these. These can be a good starting point, but you are going to want to check over them, use the Purdue OWL or use the online Mizzou Online Writery or something like that, but you're going to want to check over your citations, okay? So from there, well, actually, yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the basics of this database, but then also another thing that I want you all to be aware of, if we go back to the results list here, I do want you all to be aware also that you can kind of toggle this as well, as far as, and there are some other features, but we don't have time for that. We're already at 26 minutes. I've sped this up. You can toggle this. So it is organizing your results by relevance, but you can organize them in other ways, such as newest. A lot of students a lot of times do want newest first. You can do oldest first. You can do source, or you can do author. Okay. So that's the last thing that I really wanted to tell you all. And then also, now, if you ever do want to get rid of any of these limiters, like let's say you don't necessarily need the full text, you can just, you don't have to start a new search. You can just click the X and get rid of that there. And as you can see, we went from 256 things to 517 things. So we are back where we need to be with more. All right. So that is our Academic Search Premier / Academic Search Complete intro. If you want to learn more about that, then about these databases, which is really the same database, just 2 different versions of it. If you want to learn more and want to actually master it, get some practice on it, and then also, in addition to get some practicing on it, you can also look for some tutorials. You can find tutorials within the database. You can also find tutorials on YouTube and Venmo. Okay, so just look around, seek, and ye shall find. All right, I'm not going to spend as much time talking about JSTOR, but we are going to talk about JSTOR. So that's going to be the next one I open, and you are going to take a look at that now. So let's pause and get to JSTOR. One moment. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some JSTOR. So I'm back at our Missouri listing of databases, and as you go, I didn't realize there weren't that many things that started with J. So I guess we've only got 3 things that start with J. I'm going to go into JSTOR. So we're going to come into here, and we're going to be sent to a page that looks something like this. So what I actually prefer to do, now let me tell you what JSTOR does. JSTOR is another database that is kind of like Academic Search Complete in the sense that it covers a large variety of topics. There are going to be databases that are on, most databases are on specific topics. So like PsycInfo is about psychology, CINAHL is about nursing, Business Source Complete about business, so forth and so on. But things like Academic Search Complete and JSTOR, they are actually about the full range of things. So the full range of things. So what we can do is we come here, and a lot of times I don't even use the, actually we can do that. Let's use the advanced search feature here. Just like we defaulted into the advanced search feature in the other database. And one thing for you to know is that you can actually, come in here and add rows if you need to. I'm not necessarily going to do that. But what you can do is from here, what I have to tell you all is this. JSTOR is a good database because it has a ton, and I do mean an F-ton of information in it. It's just got a lot of information in it. But the thing about JSTOR is that almost everything in JSTOR is at least 3 years old, because really what JSTOR is it's like a dumping ground for older articles. They get older articles and they put them in there. And most of them are going to be academic articles, okay, or academic books. You do have some books and some other stuff in here, but the stuff in JSTOR is typically going to be academic. All right. So if you come into JSTOR, let's say you do, and the search, this is the other thing I need to mention. The search feature in JSTOR is not powerful at all. So you're not going to get precise results with JSTOR. You're going to get a lot of results, but you're going to get a lot of stuff that's off topic. And I hate that, but that's just the way JSTOR is, because it's a dumping ground of just old stuff, right? Stuff that's at least 3 years old, but it's a dumping ground of old stuff. So let's say we just put in, again, Donald Trump. Let's just put in immigration. There's actually going to be hopefully not that much stuff coming up with this, because Donald Trump hasn't been talking about immigration, I don't think, as far back as the 90s and 80s. So you're not going to be, this thing will pull, there's stuff from the 1600s in this database, actually, y'all, to tell you the truth. But yes, it definitely covers stuff from the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. But we're not going to have to worry about those things. So, well, I mean, we're not going to have to worry about things from the 80s and 90s with a search like Donald Trump and immigration, but you're still going to see a whole lot of things come back. So let's click Submit Advanced Search. And even when you're talking about something that only goes back a few, maybe like 2 decades, and again, this database goes back for centuries, but even if you're dealing with an issue that only goes back about 2 decades, which is about how long Donald Trump has been talking about immigration, you're still going to get about 7,300 results here. And all of this stuff is going to be really from the past, from the past 20 years or so, okay? Now, a good thing about JSTOR is that almost everything in JSTOR is going to be available within the database. You're going to have the full text in the database. And then also, if you see open access, then that means you don't even need the database to get to it. You could find it on Google Scholar or on the open web. But this thing from 2004 here is not something that's open access, because you didn't see the thing, you didn't see that little button. So if I click into it, I'm brought here. And when I'm brought here, it's not loading. Okay, well, that's not what I wanted, but it's not loading, and I'm not really going to. The good thing about it is if it doesn't load, then you can still click download here, accept and download, and then it will just download it in a new tab, which is what it's doing now. But a lot of things will populate right there in the database, and you won't have to download it and open a new tab and all that, but you got your full text right there. And so from here, what I want you all to know is that your limiting options and your left-hand and right-hand options actually become pretty similar in both of these databases. So refine results, just like in Academic Search Complete, you can refine your results here. So search within results, you can do that as well. But you can refine your results here. Academic content, you can do journals, book chapters, reports, that sort of thing. Let's say we wanted to stick with book chapters for some reason. We could do that. Click that, and then we've just got book chapters. You can also go by primary source content. You can go by date, and you can go by subject matter. Here you see various subject matters, and I clicked one by mistake. Didn't mean to do that. You can unclick it and get back to there. And as you can see, the number of things you're going to have are going down as you go down through here. Language, access type, all of those things at work. And then again, if you want to save, you can save, download, you can download. Cite, again, it is only accurate about 80% of the time. So be aware of that, okay? And we've got that same issue, it looks like, again, here where they are capitalizing words they're not supposed to capitalize. All right, so that is how that works. And beyond that, the basics of JSTOR do kind of mirror the basics of Academic Search Complete. Get in there if you want to master this database. Get in there, find a tutorial on YouTube, find a tutorial within the database, but find a tutorial if you really want to master it. Also, go ahead and write your Yes, so find a tutorial if you want a tutorial, and then also just get a sense of what this database is used for and get some practice in as well if you want. So hop on the database. Both of these databases that I just showed you today are available through Mizzou Libraries, so you can just hop on the database. You don't have to go through your public library. I'm going to show you some databases throughout the semester. Some of them are going to be only accessible probably through a public library and not through an academic library. So when that happens, I'll tell you to contact your public library so you can see if they have access to it, okay? But these two things you can just hop on because you have paid your Mizzou tuition. You can just hop on and use those databases in that fashion at that time, all right? So I am going to leave it right there, and because this has been long enough, a 36-minute video. So from there, I am going to leave it up to you to do the discovery yourself and to get better at these databases. But I hope you can appreciate that I am sharing some things from my toolkit with you all, because that is what I like to do, because I like to look out for my students. So with that said, I am Dr. Jace, and if you are trying to start and you don't know where to start on a research query, a lot of times JSTOR and Academic Search Complete are a good place, as in a good place to start. Okay, I got my rhyme in, so now I can go home happy. You all have a wonderful week, and just know there will be no check-in video next week because we are going to have a guest speaker, Mary Ann Curtis. Ta-ta for now.